The next test which I'm going to be talking about is the hand grip dynamometer. So this is carried out to measure a person's strength. I got my client to do it in his right hand 3 times so that I could calculate an average score. He got an average of 53.2 kilograms. On this normative data values table for males, this score puts him above average. So here is his score. So his score put him in here of 53.2. This is really good as the age of the person on the table isn't actually considered, meaning that for a male he is above average, which is excellent considering he's only 18. Over here shows a graph showing the results for the hand grip dynamometer. With each attempt that he did, his strength is descending, or decreasing. So this was his first attempt. I got him to do it 3 times. This was the second one. This was the third one. And then this is the average attempt that I've calculated. So with each one, his score is actually decreasing. And then compared to the normative data value, this is his average, and this is the average for the normative. He's much higher, which is really good. So due to his results being above, his strength is clearly advantageous for him as a rugby player. I'm therefore seeking to maintain his strength, and so I have some recommendations of which he should follow to keep up this strength and so he doesn't lose it. The first recommendation to keep up his strength is to do lots of muscle/weight training in the gym. He already does this, so I would just make sure that he continues to do this, as if he was to stop, he would start to lose muscle and therefore would lose his strength. Due to his weight training, he should be getting stronger, and so I'd suggest that he increases the weights that he uses when he feels comfortable to, so that his strength can continue to improve and increase. Also, he should train his whole body for strength, not just his arms and legs. He should be seeking to improve back strength, ab strength, etc., so that his whole body can be strong, not just his arms or legs. The next recommendation is to increase or to have lots of protein in his diet. Foods that are high in protein include eggs, almonds, chicken breasts, oats, Greek yogurt, fish, milk. With these foods, so for example, he could have for breakfast porridge with milk and Greek yogurt with almonds and peanuts or something chopped on top. And then for a lunch or dinner, it could be something like chicken breasts with an egg and fish and with broccoli and lentils. And then with some carbs as well, because it's very important to not just have protein, to also have some carbs to give him the energy and fuel. But having a high protein diet is very good. So he shouldn't eat, all this protein every single day, but it's important to keep a balanced diet and get food from all different categories. But increasing his uptake in protein will help build muscle more quickly. He should also consider maybe having protein shakes pre or post workout. Shakes are simply a convenient way to increase the intake of protein in someone's diet, and this is needed to support muscle growth and help with bodily functions, and it replaces protein after exercise and allows muscles to rebuild and recover, so protein are a good idea as well. Here are some photos of me administering the test on my client. So here's the hand grip dynamometer, here's him doing it, and this is me recording the results here. The next test is the press-up test. So this is the 1-minute press-up test. The score is carried out to measure, the test is carried out to measure the person's muscular endurance. My client got a score of 47 press-ups in 1 minute. On the normative data table, this puts him, for his age, in the good area. So here he's above average for his age, so he fits into this area. This is excellent and shows that his muscular endurance is definitely a strength of his. He is just in the good area. He's just reaching the good area as he got 47, so 1 less press up would take him down a level into above average. But it's still falling to above average, so that's still a great score anyway. But so he got good for his age, which is excellent. And then the graph over here shows my client's score in comparison to the average for his age. The client being in the bracket, so the average is between 19 and 34 press-ups in a minute. So I put this as around 28, which is kind of the average in between the bracket, because the bracket is very large. But this shows my client's score, as you can see, it's much higher than the average. So that's really excellent. So due to his results, I wouldn't need to improve this area, and I'd only seek to maintain and keep this up. I have some recommendations which he should carry out to maintain his muscular endurance. The first being to carry out all-rounded body exercises in the gym. This is so that all of his muscles are being used and being worked. It's important that he doesn't just train certain muscles and leave others, as this will have weakness in his areas. So he needs to make sure that he's training his whole body when he goes to the gym to ensure every muscle is strong. For muscular endurance, strength training is very important, and this will enable him to maintain his strength. At the gym, I recommend him do lots of reps to tire the muscles out and get them to be used repeatedly. And this is a great way to tire out the muscles if you're repeatedly using them and doing repeated sets. So maybe doing a set, then repeating that set. And this way, it's a great way of tiring out the muscles and using the same muscles. This is him administering the press up test. So the next one is BIA, so bioelectrical impedance analysis device, which is carried out to measure the person's body composition. My client got a fat score percentage of 13.2%, and his BMI came out as 24.2. So his fat percentage score is the main focus which I wanted to find out about, but the BMI I'll talk about in a minute. So an electrical impulse was sent around the whole body, and when the impulse hits fat in the body, it's slowed down, and is more of a challenge for the body to get through. With a fat percentage score of 13.2, this shows that he doesn't have much body fat, as the impulse is sent around the body quite quickly. The BIA determines the resistance of flow through body tissues and comes up with the individual's body fat percentage. The lower the resistance, the more fat-free mass percent there is in the body. In comparison to the normative data table, his score puts him in the ideal category for his age bracket. He is in the lower end of the bracket, verging being on the slim category, as this starts at 12% and he got 13.2. But it shows that he has the perfect amount of body percentage fat for his male and for his age, which is excellent. And the graph over here shows his BIA results, with the BIA of 13.3 here. So the lower the bar, the better, actually, for certain areas. So it's good to be low, but not too low. But in this case, it is a bit better to be lower. So this shows 13.2%, and then this is the average BIA score for most people, which is around 15%. So he is above average, and this is a strength of his. So evaluation is definitely a strength, and I'd be seeking to maintain this. So I've got some recommendations that I have to help maintain this. The first recommendation is to eat a balanced, healthy diet. A balanced, healthy diet with your 5-day or more is a great way of providing the body with nutrients. Also, these foods won't be high in fat, unlike kind of cake and sugary foods, which tend to be very high in fat. And these fat foods would increase the proportions of fat percentage in someone's body if they're regularly eaten. You can still eat unhealthy foods, but as long as they're in moderation and aren't eating too many. Exercising regularly is another way to maintain his BIA, as exercise burns fats and adds muscle to the body, and so the electrical impulse will travel faster if there's less fats and more muscle, showing a lower body fat percentage on the device. The next recommendation is to drink lots of water throughout the day. The impulse in BIA travels fastest through fat-free tissues containing a lot of water, as they're good conductors of the electrical current. He should be drinking at least 2 to 3 waters per day. And then the final recommendation is to increase his intake of fibre. Fibre is an essential part of a healthy diet. It helps food pass through your digestive system and also helps to eliminate fat and reduce cholesterol. Some examples of food high in fibre include things like vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, and seeds. So I'm going to quickly talk about the BMI that was calculated via the BIA. So the BIA provides information on a person's BMI, as first the client has to input the data such as weight and height into the machine, and then it calculates the BMI. He got a score of 24.2, which puts him on the normative data table in a healthy weight, but he's just verging nearly onto the overweight section. So he's just in the healthy weight, but he's verging onto the overweight area. And so he's got a healthy BMI, but the kind of a healthier BMI would be more like 22. But he isn't too far from it, and so we just want to slightly decrease this. However, this score could be considered inaccurate, as muscle weighs more than fat, and because he's a rugby player, it's likely that he's muscle will weigh a lot more, and it's likely that he's got a lot of muscle and not so much fat. And then this graph just shows a healthy average BMI, and then his BMI of 24.2, and the healthy is around 22. So he is over the healthy, but he's still in the healthy area, but we'd want to maybe reduce it slightly. This is the administration of the BIA. So here he's holding the handheld device and conducting the test. So the next test which I'm going to be talking about is the standing vertical jump using what's called as the tachy jump meter. So this is a way of measuring anaerobic power. My client got an average score of 39.3 in the test. I got him to carry out the test 3 times so that I could calculate an average and so that my client could get a feel of how to do the test. Because if just one test is done, sometimes it's not as reliable due to the person maybe doing the test slightly incorrectly or not putting enough effort into the first one because they feel like they need a bit of a warm up. My client's score on the normative data table would put him below average, as a score of 39 centimetres is in here, would put him in this area, so below average. However, he is at the top end of this bracket, as he got 39. To go up, he'd need 41. So he's at the top area, so 2 more centimetres would put him in the average area, but still he's below average. I made sure this would be quite a reliable test, and I made sure that each time he did the jump, he'd have his hands on his waist rather than using his arms to power him up. And then the graph over here shows the different attempts that he took. So this first attempt, second attempt, third attempt, and then this is the client's average attempt. And this is the normative value, or the average value. So as you can see, his first attempt he did was his best attempt, and he got 44 centimetres. And this jump would put him above the average, in the average age category. So his first jump of 44 centimetres would put him in the average area. However, his second 2 jumps, being 37 centimetres, have put him in the below average area. And so the average person would get a score of around 45. So that's the average here, and this is the average client. This is the average. So his anaerobic power is definitely an area that needs improving. I have some recommendations for him to improve his anaerobic power and to hopefully get his score up so that it can be on average section or hopefully above average. We'll be looking to improve in the classification systems of the normative data values table. So the first recommendation being that at the gym, do more power generating and explosive movements. For example, squats, jump squats with weights on, jump lunges, jumping onto boxes in the gym, and other exercises which will involve the generation of power from his legs. This way his explosive power will be improved, enabling to get a higher score and a greater generation of force, powering him up higher into the air. I would also recommend that he does plyometrics training. This type of training involves a lot of jumping, leaping and bounding, which will all help to improve his anaerobic power. It's one of the best ways to build explosive power. It's said that performing plyometrics trainings 1 to 3 times a week can increase the vertical jump and improve the speed and power and strength. So by doing his plyometric training, it will really help when he's doing his test. This will really help aid in his performance in rugby also. Furthermore, his leg training that he does regularly, his weight training, will help improve his power, as he'll be strengthening up his muscles, will help enabling him to produce more explosive movements when he does the jump. This shows the administration of the test. Here he's wearing the device and here's the mat and he's doing his jump. The final test which I'm going to be talking about is a 20-metre sprint, which is used to carry out, to measure a person's speed. So usually a 30-metre sprint is conducted. However, due to the facilities available, we were only able to really do a 20-metre sprint due to the safety as well. So I got my client to carry out 3 20-metre sprints so that I could calculate an average score. Due to the fact we only did a 20-metre sprint and all of the normative data tables for a 30-metre sprint, I had to work out his time if it were a 30-metre sprint. So I got his time and then half the score, then added on that bit with the original score, so 2/3 of it. And so his average score was 6.835 seconds. So on the normative data table over here, this would put him in the poor area. So this result, however, may not be effective or representative of his actual speed, considering because he actually only ran 20 meters, and so I had to work out the score, which could be not very accurate, which isn't really very accurate because he didn't actually run the 30 meters. So when I got him to do the 20-meter sprint, I got him to hold a rugby ball so that it was more related to his sport of rugby. This could be another reason why his score is slower is much slower in the poor section, because running with a rugby ball is harder as you're not able to use your arms and pump your arms, and so that would make you slower because he won't be able to drive his arms and get faster basically. And here is a graph which shows his attempts. So this is his first one, his second one, and his third one. So he started off. His slowest was this second attempt. No, sorry, the first attempt. And then he got a little bit faster and then went down a little bit again. So his first one was actually his slowest attempt, with a value of 7.47 seconds. This is his second attempt, 5.6, and his third attempt. And this shows his average. And then this one shows the average normative value. So for his age and gender, it should be around 4.4 seconds. So he is about 2 seconds slower. So we would definitely look to improve this area. So some ways to improve this area includes sprinting techniques. So we'd work on his technique. So he needs to focus on his stride length and lifting his legs up more when he runs so that he can cover greater distances with less steps. So I noticed when he was running, he took many strides, but his steps were very short, which meant that he wasn't going that fast. So we'd look to improve that. And then also at the gym, I'd recommend that he does exercises using heavy ankle weights, or doing sprints pushing heavy boxes across the floor, or doing heavy sled drags. And other things include like resistance bands around his waist with someone pulling against him, so he's got to work and resist. So all these different things are providing resistance while he's trying to sprint, which would mean that it's harder for him to be able to sprint, but then when he does take off the resistance, he'll be able to go faster. So this would enable him to go faster when he does take off the bands, and would hopefully enable him to get stronger. And then I'd also recommend that he does sprinting on a running machine, because at the moment he never goes on the running machine. So maybe by doing 10 30-second sprints at a speed of maybe 15 or 16 kilometers an hour, and then maybe 10 5-second sprints. This would all help to improve his speedability. And I'd also recommend him to do more, to get more power in his legs via hill training, wind sprints, which is basically where you run against the wind, which provides a greater resistance. And it also makes you work much harder. And also by doing things such as stair sprints, which is running up and down the stairs. And this should all help to improve his speed by giving him some more muscle, and should help in general. And then this is him administrating the test, so here's run past me, and this is him in process. So yeah.